Chenault, the founder of HeartStories, and I'm so excited to welcome you here to episode number 7 of Sisters on Your Sofa. Today, I have Paige Chenault with us, the founder of the Birthday Party Project. Welcome, Paige. So excited to have you.
Thanks so much, Crystal. I'm thrilled to be here today.
Yay, it's so fun because Paige and I have kind of known each other for a while, and this is our first face-to-face encounter. If this counts, it counts for face-to-face.
Totally. I feel like we know each other by now, though. Absolutely.
Yes. We're introduced by a dear friend and then have kind of just followed along in social. So at HeartStories, our whole mission is to reconnect busy women with the joy you crave and the courage to pursue your purpose. So that is just such a perfect fit with who Paige is and what she does in the world. So through the Birthday Party Project, she is actually going to be our featured guest at our upcoming Girls Night this Thursday night, which is our HeartStories Girls Night Out birthday. So we are going to do some celebrating on Thursday night. But before that, we're going to get to know Paige a little bit better today. So just so glad to have you. So you're a little bit, I'm not going to tell all your story for you, but you are the party bash throwing girl. Your slogan is it's eat, sleep, party, repeat, which is my idol. I want to be Paige. I want this to be my slogan. But so tell us a little bit about your party planning career, the before the birthday party project.
Oh, sure. So I had an event planning firm for about 10 years here in Dallas, but also planned parties and weddings and bar and bat mitzvahs all over the world, actually. Love being a part of people's celebrations. I actually fell into the wedding planning business. That was not what I intended to do. Someone asked me to help them plan their wedding, and I thought, well, I love a clipboard. I love to be organized. I love parties. Like, I'm going for it. And so that was kind of my entry point into planning weddings back in 2005.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And I just remember my very first wedding and the bride and groom walking down the aisle. And in that moment, it was like, oh, this feels so good. It feels complete. So I've just really enjoyed the opportunity to get to know all of our clients, and more than anything else, there are moments in celebrations where I get to kind of tuck into the background and watch everything unfold. And it's really quite magical when people come together for a common purpose. So I certainly loved planning parties for all of those 10 years.
That's amazing. I love that story. Real briefly, what were you doing before you were a party planner when you fell into party planning in 2005?
My goodness. Well, I actually was doing a lot of different things. My first jobs were working in nonprofit out of college, and then I worked for a small specialty store. I was just trying to find my footing, very young, freshly out of college, newly married in 2005, which is kind of what started this process of then planning other people's weddings. So
how did you go from planning all of these lavish events around the world to starting the Birthday Party Project?
Right. So let's fast forward a little bit through our party planning, my party planning days. And there was a time that I'm sitting on an airplane. I am 7.5 months pregnant with my daughter, Lizzie, and I'm flipping through a magazine and I'm reading about kids' birthday parties. It was a parent magazine. It was before Pinterest, but it's, walking you through step by step on how to put together the perfectly curated parties for your kiddos. And given that I have an event planning background, I had the resources, all of my party partner friends, I knew that I was going to be able to throw her the greatest parties ever.
Yes.
And I was getting really excited thinking about this. I'm sitting on this airplane, I'm like gushing, just so excited as I'm reading through this article. And so somewhere in the middle of that, I set that article down and I picked up another magazine, and it was a Time magazine. And I flipped it open, and I flipped it open to the page, this image of a little boy. And it's a black and white image of this little boy. And he's standing in the middle of a dirty, chaos-filled street. He has no shirt on. He has a bloated belly. There were people in the background of this image. I'll never forget it. And yet he was staring right at me. This image of this child in Haiti, in this incredibly impoverished area of Haiti, is just, his eyes are piercing my soul, and this like fire in my belly starts, and I start to just sob, and I'm just thinking, what about him? Like, what
Yeah.
about this child? I mean, I am sitting here thinking about all these ways that I can celebrate my child, but there are children like this that will never feel celebrated. What is happening? What can I do about this? So truly, this feeling is like burning inside of me. And, I'm super pregnant. So I am super emotional. And I mean, snot
Right.
running down my face.
Oh my gosh.
The gentleman next to me is looking at me like, how did I get seated next to this crazy person? And the flight attendant comes by and says, are you okay? I'm fine. I just need to celebrate children.
Mm.
And so in this moment, it struck me that I could use the gifts and the talents that I've been given, the things that I have been cultivating over the last however many years. I
Yes.
can use all of this. I can galvanize those resources to celebrate children that might not ever feel celebrated.
Yes.
So I come home and I tell my husband about this, and he says, okay, I'm this ideas girl. I'm a dreamer. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, and so I got all these big plans.
Yes.
And he reminds me, one, Paige, you're incredibly pregnant. Like, you're going to have a baby. And number two, you know, you have 36 events on the books this year, and that's a lot on top of trying to have a baby. And then number three, there are children in your backyard, down the street, around the corner, that also need to feel celebrated on their birthday. So rather than deciding that you need to start some big international endeavor, why don't you just look around you in the community that you're already in and find ways that you can support children in the community here? And I really listened to that, Crystal. I understood in that moment that it wasn't the right time. I was energized by the idea. I couldn't let it go, but it wasn't now. It was like the seed had been planted, and now it just needs to be sowed. We just need to sow some seeds.
Yeah.
And so taking some time to have a baby, have my little Lizzie, and continue to work, these events and have these parties. And then, all the while in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about this idea, the birthday party project, and what it could look like and how we can do it. And so I remember when Lizzie turned 2, and I remember the people around her as we're singing happy birthday, and I'm standing there taking photos, and my husband says, make a wish. And in that moment, I realized it was like this, it's time, it's now or never, because the way that she looked at 2 years old, understanding what make a wish meant, it means pull out your candles, think about something, dream big. I
Yes.
wanted other people to be able to experience that too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So tell us then, what is the birthday party project? What do you do with the birthday
Yes.
as a result of that journey?
So the birthday party project, we partner with homeless and transitional living facilities, and we throw birthday parties for the kids that are staying there.
Yeah.
And in addition to throwing birthday parties to celebrate the kids that have birthdays that month, my favorite part of all of it is that we invite all the kids and family members that are staying at the agency to also participate in the party. So we bring in what we call birthday enthusiasts, which are volunteers. It's people like us. And we go in and help throw a really big bash to ensure that children feel celebrated.
That's amazing. It is amazing. And if you go and watch, if you just Google the birthday party project, you could watch videos for days and it will just make you cry, like seeing these kids being celebrated in such a big, enormous way. And of course, I've watched a couple of the like news interviews that you've done with different, CNN and whoever, like all over. And they show real, footage from those parties, and then interviews of the moms and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how do you even control like the emotions that you must feel when you're getting a chance? And like you said, I loved how you said, because I know that feeling of like you've planned this big bash and then you get to step back and just watch everyone enjoying it. And so I can't even imagine in that moment, like you've planned this whole thing and these kids are being celebrated, that wouldn't, and not in any sort of a proud way, but like to know that like you had a hand in that, like you got to, your life is making a difference and those people are having this party, being celebrated, feeling
That's
those
right.
kids are being celebrated and feeling joy and magic. So
it's really extraordinary. It really is. And
yes.
it's such a gift that I've been given to be able to, to do exactly what you're saying, to step back and watch people use their gifts and their talents,
Yeah.
to connect with other people. And it is chaos. It is fun. It is loud in these moments, but it is absolute joy. And it shows you the goodness of humanity.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, and just who we can be when we
That's
decide
right.
to see the world that way. It's
That's
amazing.
right. That's right.
So I want you to tell me, I kind of skipped one question. Yeah, let's do this question. So has there been a moment in your life when you've ever looked back and thought, oh my gosh, what did I do? I left my very profitable, amazing events planning business. What have I done? I need to go back.
Right. Oh gosh. Okay. So you're 150,000% right. I walked away from a really big business, something that I was proud to have, create over the, 10 years. More than that, though, I was so proud of the relationships and the connections that I had made because of the business. And I have to say, the moment that I walked in to our very first party in 2012 at Family Gateway in downtown Dallas, and the party starts to unfold, and at the time I was still, I was still planning weddings, and I was doing both for a while. But when I moved into that space and the party is unfolding and we're singing happy birthday to 11 children that night, those moments I realized I'm not missing anything in my old life. I'm missing everything here. Like I need to be all in on this, because this is where the goodness is. And I do believe, for me, I know that God has given me gifts and talents to use in this way. And so I have to also trust that what I have left behind is nothing compared to what's in front of me. And some moments are harder than others.
Sure.
But I haven't missed it once. Not one time have I looked back and thought, oh gosh, I really wish that I was still planning big weddings. Oh gosh, I wish I could do one more bar mitzvah. In fact, for me, it's the opposite. It's what else can we do? Where can we go? How high can we climb?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I know when I asked you that question once before, you said, sometimes you're like, why me? Like, how did I get picked? And then other times you realize, no, it was my entire life led up to me being the girl for this job.
No, I think you're totally right. You know what? And it's true. I did say that to you. And I remember in that moment of sharing that with you that, as I was saying it, I was reminded that I asked that question a lot. I asked that question a lot, and not because I don't feel comfortable or confident or trust that I'm in the right place, but it's almost as though it's like, to much who has been given, like much is required. And but do you think that I can do all of these things? And that's what's hard, right? Is this the why me is like, oh goodness, I don't know that I'm equipped. I don't know that I have everything that I need to make all of this happen. And when I rest for a moment and when I pause for a moment, I can look back and I can truly see every little step that led me here. And all of the, even all our clients have been incredible, supporters and birthday enthusiasts for the birthday party project. I mean, all of it it leads you to the next. And so in those times of asking, it's often like, just this like, can I keep going? Can I keep doing it? But being able to look back and know and to trust the process, you just gotta trust the process.
Yeah. So that's a question I was actually going to ask you later, but I think you just answered it for me. It's if you could give permission to a woman for anything, if you'd give yourself permission and give a permission to other women, like, I feel like I hear you saying it in the threads of everything that you say, like, trust it, trust where you're going, trust the next step, trust the process. It's so good.
I
Was
mean,
that
so
what?
here we are. Yes, I mean, I tend to be the girl that's like, do I want to live in, you know, in fear, or do I want to live with like tenacity, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
on the other side of fear, like just it's so scary. I know. There, I mean, it feels like giants. It feels insurmountable at times to even think like,
yes,
how could someone like me go and do something?
yes.
And yet, like taking those first steps and trusting that the steps you take might not be the perfect steps, but they're going to lead you somewhere. And
Yeah.
where you're going is probably far better than what you're leaving behind.
Oh, yeah.
And so trusting that is, I think, incredibly important. But I am, I just decided one day that I wasn't going to live in fear anymore. You
Yeah.
know, that it was just time to just to jump all in and to see what happens, because I don't want to live with regret. I just want to be able to say, we
Yeah.
tried, and it worked or it didn't work. And if it didn't work, okay, we'll try something new.
Yes, it's so good. Oh my gosh, it's like it's the journey of the entrepreneur, of course, in no matter what you
Yes.
do. But I think that it's also just speaks to the journey of life. And I think the older I get, the more books I read. I was thinking the words that came out of my mouth earlier, you're the girl for the job. It's like I have to tell myself that a lot, but it comes
Oh,
from a book. And I'm losing the author's name right now, but it's the most amazing book. And she just repeats. Like she doesn't know you, she doesn't know your story, but she knows that you're here on purpose and that you're right exactly where you are and being called to what you're doing because you're the girl for the job. And you're the girl for the job in the middle of all of this too, to lead the birthday project in the way of what it looks like to celebrate right now when the whole world is hurting and
oh
everyone,
yeah.
like we're trying to sit with that hurt and pain for our brothers and sisters and hold hands and stand beside and stand in front and what is that for you, like, and knowing that we're all stepping into the girl for the job role, like what does that look like for you right now with the birthday party project?
You know, I think it's been a really heavy few days for me specifically um, because I care so much for our community, and because we do have a role to play, not only as the birthday party project, but as a mom and a wife and a leader in our community. And so I have to decide, you know, what am I willing, what can I be really vulnerable about, and how can
Yeah,
I just say the words, I'll do the best I can. And I don't know what that looks like per se, but I'm here and I'm ready. And one of the things that I think you said, which is really important to us at the Birthday Party Project, is the showing up, the consistency that's involved with of connecting with people. And so, what I think that we do well, pre-COVID and even post, you know, in the middle of COVID and now in the middle of incredible racial tension, I think
yeah,
one thing that we do really well is that we are consistently showing up for our agency partners and our friends and the families that we celebrate. And
yeah.
I have to say, one of the things that we learned early on is that homelessness looks very different than what people often stereotype homelessness to be. And what
Absolutely.
I also know, yeah, and what I know is that there are all different types of people that are experiencing homelessness. It is not one color.
Right.
It is not one addiction. It is not one case of abuse. It literally looks so vastly different.
Yes.
And so we are called into a place of making sure that when we show up in a way that says, we're here because we want to get to know you, because we want to connect, because we want to build community. And
Yeah.
one of the things that we do really well is, I believe that celebrations do break down barriers. It's
Mm,
a chance for us to come together for one common purpose, right?
yes.
Or in some cases, you know, in Minneapolis, one day we had 38 common purposes and 38 birthdays to celebrate in
Oh
one
my
party.
goodness.
So whether it's one or it's 38, we have a common goal, which is to make sure that people feel loved and celebrated, and
Mm,
that we connect in a way that says, we're here, we're showing up, we don't have all the answers.
right.
I don't have all the answers. In fact, I have a lot of pain and timidity that's, you know, surrounds the subject, but I'm here and I'm
Yeah.
willing to learn, I'm willing to listen, I'm
Yes.
willing to connect. And
Yes.
I think that is critical right now. It's
Yeah.
critical for each of us to be able to enter into a conversation not by speaking but by listening.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. The
Yeah.
curious conversations of the all. Yeah. Asking questions and listening well to the answers without
That's right.
judgment and if, ands, and buts and all of those things. That's,
Right.
man, it's one of the hardest parts for me is like, but this, and what if that? And even as a mom, you spoke about this, our role as a mother. And even like, I keep telling myself, you're the girl for the job. You're the girl for the job. Like I can do this. And feeling like we've been talking about this for years. Why does it feel new and fresh and hard right now? And like, yeah, I forgot what I was saying, but that holding that place of curiosity and learning and being open to, I don't know it. Oh,
That's
and
right. That's right.
not adding anything, no ifs, ands, or buts. This is
Right.
the experience of people who did not grow up like us. And like, it's that period, and
Yeah.
holding space for that. So in the midst of that, like I think that I would love to hear what you think about, like, I know briefly we talked about before this, about the celebrating in the midst of crisis, and like you showing up for people and you being consistent and building community. And sometimes that looks like celebrating amid pain. Like there could be someone, even, and you didn't tell me this, but I just know, like inside that space, who's just lost a mother or a father, or has just gone through something gut wrenching, and you're celebrating with streamers and birthday hats. And like, talk to me about what joy, like your slogan on your website, that joy changes lives. Like obviously we have this in common, that we believe in this, the power of joy. So talk to me about what joy looks like in the midst of pain and brokenness.
I think that this is when it matters the most. I think that we need to be able to have something to look forward to hope for, especially right now. And so for me, the consistency part of it, of course, is incredibly key. But if you think about it, there are children and families that are staying in shelters and transitional living facilities right now, who feel isolated and alone and confused. And this is before this week's news. We're still talking pandemic. We're talking even pre-pandemic, when kids are coming home on the school bus at 6:30 at night, eating dinner in a cafeteria filled with strangers, and going to a 10 by 10 room with their mom or their dad to sleep and do it all over again the next day. I mean, this is traumatic for a child and for their families. And so what we get to do is we get to say, you know what? Joy does exist in pain, and joy can exist and come out of really traumatic and trying moments in your life. And joy should exist in spite of all the other things that are going on around you. We should take time to acknowledge there is beauty and there is hope, and that there are things that we're celebrating.
Yes.
So many times families say to us, thank you, because we just needed a break from our normal. And I'm thinking, we try to give them a sense of normalcy, but what is normalcy? Normalcy for me is very different than normalcy for somebody else. So I can no longer say that. Instead, I have to just acknowledge that, like, we get to give them a break from what they're experiencing, and we get to let them be children. We get to let moms let go and let loose for a little while and have fun. I mean, dance parties and laughter, it builds morale within those walls. And our agency partners will tell us that time and time again, that when we leave, the relationships between those staying at the agency, and their bonds that are made, there are even walls between families that are living next door to each other that are completely broken down because they had a moment that was different, right? That they got to see somebody in a completely new light.
Yes.
And so I won't back away from joy right now. In fact, I'm going to lean all the way into why it's so necessary for us to experience it. You say joy changes lives, and we say that a joyful community can change the world. And we know that. We know that it's something that, I mean, when it's manifested in you, it's something that other people can feel, right? And so that's what we get to, that's my hope, is that we can continue to build upon that, to share that with as many people as possible.
Oh, that's so good. I'm reminded while you tell that is about there's a, I saw it on Facebook, I'm sure, in the earlier times of the pandemic, when I guess we were still out shopping, but there was a guy, they were in Walmart and they were all in line with their toilet paper and everything. And then somebody started singing, and like all the workers and everybody in line, and everybody started singing. And I remember thinking, just took that one person to just say, hey, we still have things to celebrate, and just to start singing. And I mean, like,
that's right.
I think
that's exactly right.
I imagine you doing, like lighting that first candle and singing that first note, that like, there's still joy to celebrate. There's still,
that's right.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We're all worth it. We're all worth it for sure.
So good. Yes, everyone worth celebrating. It's so important. So tell me, on that note, I also heard you tell a story one time about a little girl in one of the shelters, and you presented her with the birthday cake and she didn't understand what was happening. So tell us that story.
Sure. So we actually work with an incredible agency here who keeps moms and children safe from their abusers. So it is a domestic violence agency that allows moms and their kiddos to come in and to just get the support that they need, to get the relief that they need from, their oppression.
Yeah.
And there is a mom, and she has 4 children. And while she moved into our agency, the second month that she was there was one of her children's birthday parties. And so we were celebrating one of her girls. And as it came time, to get all of the birthday kids together, we're lining everyone up and we're calling them by name, and we get in front of the little girl and we light the birthday candle on her birthday cake, and we say, "Make a wish, make a wish." And she says, "What is this fire stick?" She had never seen a birthday candle before. She had never seen a birthday cake before. And her mom went on to say what an important moment that was for their family, because in their years of living with her ex-husband, they were under such oppression that they actually never celebrated anything. Not one holiday was celebrated. No birthdays were ever celebrated. So by us coming into their environment and by us stopping for just a moment to say, "You matter so much," we got to show children, her children specifically, what a celebration was. And she had a baby doll, and that baby doll looked just like her, and she hugged it tight afterwards after blowing out her candle. And her mom vowed in that moment that they would continue to celebrate birthdays.
Wow.
But my favorite part of that is that agency actually supports that family, and they were able to stay there for an entire year. So we got to celebrate all 4 of her children while she was staying there. So we feel like it was like very equal for all the kids and lots of fun. It was
great. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love that story so much. I love it for all the reasons, but I feel like it really highlights the kind of difference you're making in the world. Like, the starfish analogy, like I can't help them all, but I can help this one. And I think that that's so, as much as we've heard it and cliche as it seems, it's so real and so valid and true. And when you get to hear the story of one little girl learning to understand what a birthday celebration is, especially after the oppression that she was under, and what the reason that she didn't know. I didn't even know that part of the story. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think, really important because what we know is that, every story looks so different. And if we were to ever sit and categorize or generalize or stereotype, we're doing ourselves a disservice. And if we ever dismiss someone, we're doing ourselves a disservice, because we're not learning about their experience or understanding, or even gaining a little understanding of who they are, where they're from, why they're the way that they are, but also like, what is our role to play in creating lasting change? And I can't solve it all, and I love to solve all the things. I want to do it all. I want to help all the people. I want to do all things. I can't. I know that I have to do what's mine to do. And so I only can get to that place if I understand what I'm dealing with, and I cannot do it unless we understand the entire narrative.
Yeah, right. Which is almost sometimes seems insurmountable. So when you can hear those individual stories, you get pieces of the narrative, right?
That's right.
Showing up, keep showing up. I'm going to keep saying that. I think you just showing up is the way you get the pieces, and you can eventually get a full picture. It's so good. Right. So good for where we are in the world right now. It's so good for everyday living. Like, I mean, I think even just talking with my kids through some of the things that are happening right now, it's been so helpful just to talk about context and what's going on, what someone else's struggle that you have no idea about
Right.
until you ask and learn more. I think I'd like to close with you just saying, like, what's your one of the things I love to ask in these Sisters on Your Sofa interviews, because it's just the concept of the Sisters on Your Sofa is just how I grew up with three sisters, and how, like, that little network of support has just buoyed me throughout my life to always have somebody to go to and somebody to ask and somebody to look at my situation and give me advice, whether I took it or not. So what is your best big sister advice? If you were sitting on the sofa with your little sister and you were going to give her some advice about life or the world or how to show up.
I think,
I know you pick one. We don't have to put so much pressure on it being the very best.
Okay. It's okay. I think right now, for these moments, I think it's to stay curious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think staying curious is not necessarily always just about the world around us and those people in our path. I mean, stay curious about what you're feeling on the inside.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Tap into the feelings that you have and ask the questions around, why do I feel excited? Why do I feel anxious, uncomfortable, nervous, angry? Why do I feel complacent? And I think by staying curious, by asking the questions, then we allow ourselves to be open to change.
Yes.
And I think that my curiosity about that, like, gut feeling, that intuition, is what propelled me into being able to start the birthday party project, because the what ifs were so strong, right?
Yes.
That I knew I had to do something about it. And so I think for today, that's my big sister on the couch advice.
It's so good. Staying curious about your feelings is so easy, especially for sevens, to just be like, that feeling,
I like to
I've moved on. Yeah.
I shove those way down. They're all the way, they're in the other room right now, most of my feelings.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really.
So it's a practice, and I think that's beautiful that that's your advice, knowing, because so context, sevens on the Enneagram avoid pain at all costs and live life with joy and parties to cover up pain sometimes. So for a 7 to say, my advice is to get curious about what you're feeling. I know that there's a lot of work in your life that has led up to you, that's the thing that you felt like, okay, if I have a gift to give from everything I've been through, let me tell you this.
Yeah. I'm doing it every day, Crystal. Like, the pandemic has been so good for me because it has slowed me so far down that I have to ask the questions. And so you can definitely tell where I am, what season of life I'm in right now is like the wrestling, right?
It's exactly the wrestling. All the Brene Brown, we know.
I know. Yeah, that's
okay.
right.
So last question for you, or last thing to talk about is, so excited to have you on Thursday as the featured guest for our girls' night out. It's your birthday, and we're going to do dance.
So excited.
Joy and celebrate even in the middle of pain. And I think, though, especially as mothers and women and coming through the pandemic, man, we were talking about on our team call this morning that, as if we weren't beat up enough with having the weight of homeschooling and having everyone at home and figuring out how to work. I feel like disproportionately women were affected by the pandemic more than men. And so we're coming out of that. So I'm all battle cry, we're going to celebrate. It's going to be amazing. And then last week, all the events of last week. And I think so many of us trying to process, oh my gosh, what can I do? How can I, there's just even, it feels like in a good way, the wait is good because we want to process and all of those things. But also we need to take that time out, I'm going to find my joy again, even if it's just for tonight. I'm got to feel like my life has space for celebration still. Because even I was talking to the team this morning, there's always that grassy meadow on the other side of this thing, over there, once I get there, I'm going to celebrate again and it's going to be good. And over there just never comes, because you get over there and then there's a new thing that you have to deal with there. And so just, it's so important, I think, to celebrate this and for us to feel like there's this space to celebrate. So I just want to, I guess I had a question in all of that. Is
I think you said all the things. It was great.
Yeah, that we're conditioned to taking care of everyone else and we do it so well, but Thursday, we're going to just take a moment and celebrate how far we've come and even just surviving what we've survived in the last few months. So
that's right. That's right. I'm so excited to be with everyone. I'm looking forward to hearing stories, to sharing. I think it will be a great time of just community. I am really looking forward to it. So thank you so much.
It's going to be amazing. You are welcome. And so we're going to record messages for all of your kiddos, or for some of your kiddos, the virtual birthday wishes during Girls Night Out. But between now and then and after Girls Night Out Thursday, we can find you at thebirthdayproject.org, right?
Thebirthdaypartyproject.org. That's right.
Sorry, birthday party.
You're good. You got it.
I have all the initials lined up everywhere.
Yeah, you got it.
Hashtag is joy changes lives, and share your birthday. And
that's right.
I know that you can use birthday party enthusiasts across the country when COVID-19 stuff calms down, and you can use birthday wishes, and there's just so many ways to get involved. So go to thebirthdaypartyproject.org and then join us Thursday night at gnoathome.com is where you can find all the information about our birthday party. So thank you, Paige. Thank you so much. You were such a gift to this world. Mwah.